So, I mean, imagine sitting in a completely dark room for like 2.5 hours. You're just
Yeah.
staring at a screen and listening to this very soothing, totally faceless voice telling you how to, I don't know, do your laundry slightly faster.
Yeah, like tricking yourself into eating a vegetable.
Exactly. And now imagine over 500,000 people logging on completely by choice to do the exact same thing.
It's kind of wild.
It's truly beautiful, but also almost heartbreaking how endlessly desperate we all are. And I mean that affectionately to you, the listener, and to
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
We are all just perpetually wandering through this massive digital sea of productivity advice, just searching for that magic pill.
Right, that one perfect morning
Mhm.
routine.
Or that perfectly optimized planner that's going to finally fix our messy lives. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are not looking at a magic pill, but we are looking at something that hundreds of thousands of people think might be the next best thing.
I mean, it really shows this profound collective desperation, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure.
The sheer volume of content promising massive personal transformation is staggering. But the specific packaging of today's source material tells us so much about what people are actually starving for.
It's the perfect microcosm of this hunger. Because we aren't just looking at a book today, we are diving deep into this specific cultural artifact from YouTube.
A very specific one.
Yeah, it's a video from a channel called Mindbooked. And get this, it's a full 2.5 hour audiobook narration of James Clear's bestseller Atomic Habits.
All right.
But it's not a standard narration. The description proudly labels it as a faceless, cinematic, and deeply reflective storytelling style.
Which is, quite the specific aesthetic for what is basically a manual about building mechanical routines.
The irony is so thick you could spread it on toast.
It really is.
I mean, really think about it. We are spending over 2.5 hours listening to a soothing, disembodied voice with a cinematic score telling us how to do small, tedious chores with slightly more efficiency.
It's the ultimate modern paradox.
Right, we want to be productivity machines, but we want the instructions delivered like a spa treatment.
Yeah, we really do.
And the kicker is, this specific video was published in June of 2025, and it already has over 561,000 views.
Which is huge.
500,000 people seeking out this calm, mindful tone to forcefully rewire their own human nature.
Well, the view count alone is a testament to the fact that people aren't just looking for quick life hacks anymore.
No, they want something deeper.
Exactly. They are looking for a structural overhaul. They feel basically broken in how they operate, and they are seeking an architectural blueprint to rebuild themselves.
So here is our mission for today's deep dive. We are going to reverse engineer the core mechanical framework of Clear's global phenomenon.
Just using the video.
Exactly. Using only the architectural blueprint provided by this specific video artifact. We're stripping it down to the metadata, the meticulously structured section titles, and that highly SEO optimized description.
We want the actual nuts and bolts.
Right. No fluff.
Yeah.
Just the mechanics of habit change.
And if we want to get right down to the studs of that architecture, there's one line in that video description that serves as the foundation.
No, I know the one.
What's fascinating here is that out of a whole 2.5 hour audio experience, they highlighted this specific quote. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Man, that is just a gut punch of a quote.
It really is the anchor for everything we're about to unpack. It violently shifts your focus away from the shiny ambition of goal setting.
Because we all have goals.
Right. Every person listening to this right now has a goal.
Yeah.
Want to write a novel, lose 20 pounds, launch a business.
Sure.
But this quote forces you to confront the cold, mechanical reality of your daily systems. It argues that your aspirations are basically irrelevant if the underlying machinery of your daily life is broken.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to build a new system, you usually have to tear down the old one.
True.
And it seems like the narrative structure of this source material knows exactly how to hook you emotionally before handing you the wrench.
It definitely does.
Yeah, before we even get to the famous laws of behavior change, the video description notes that the breakdown begins with the emotional opening story of Clear's injury and slow recovery.
Which makes sense.
Because of course it does. I mean, honestly, nothing sells a rigid personal development framework quite like a good old-fashioned traumatic backstory.
You seem incredibly skeptical of that choice.
I mean, come on. Step 1 to building good habits, get catastrophically injured, apparently.
Whoa.
It's like the superhero origin story of productivity. You can't just decide to drink more water. You have to have a life-altering event first.
I mean, it's extremely easy to be cynical about it, for sure. The self-help industry does love a phoenix rising from the ashes narrative.
They really do.
But if we strip away the sarcasm for a moment and look at the actual function of this narrative choice, it's highly strategic.
Okay, I'm listening.
It isn't there for a cheap sympathy play.
Strategic how, though? Like, what does getting hurt have to do with me trying to stop doom scrolling on my phone at 2 a.m.?
It serves as the ultimate, undeniable proof of concept for the foundational idea, which is the power of tiny gains.
Okay?
Think about the biological reality of someone recovering from a catastrophic injury. In that state, grand sweeping goals are not physically possible.
Right.
You cannot set a goal to run a marathon when you're in slow recovery just trying to walk across a single room.
Right, the ambition is just stripped away by force.
Exactly. The injury story illustrates a ground zero scenario where microscopic gains were literally the only available option.
Huh.
It proves that when grand gestures are off the table, the tiny increments are still there, and they actually compound.
So it's basically establishing the extreme lower bound of human capability.
Yes.
It's saying, look, if agonizingly small gains can pull someone out of a massive physical deficit, imagine what those same tiny gains can do for you. Perfectly healthy, just trying to learn Spanish on your commute.
Precisely. It validates the atomic nature of the habits before introducing a single piece of mechanics.
That makes sense.
It's saying, do not underestimate the microscopic. But then the architecture of the video pivots sharply from the physical baseline to the psychological.
Which brings us to the identity stuff.
Yes, how habits shape identity and vice versa.
Yeah, I have a massive bone to pick with this specific concept.
Oh,
Yeah, the video's chapter layout heavily pushes this idea of identity-based change. And I get it. It sounds very profound for like an Instagram graphic.
right.
But if we're talking about changing your habits to change your identity, isn't that just a very fancy, pseudo-intellectual way of saying fake it till you make it?
I can see why you'd think that.
Like, you want to be a healthy person, so you force yourself to eat celery until you eventually brainwash yourself into believing you're a celery person.
Well,
It feels completely artificial, like being a terrible method actor who refuses to break character at the grocery store.
I completely understand why you'd frame it that way. The phrase identity shift sounds like you're putting on a costume. But let's severely reframe that analogy based on what the source material actually suggests. It isn't about faking a character at all.
It's not.
No, it is about the cold, hard gathering of empirical data.
Empirical data from eating celery.
Yes. Let's look at the phrasing. How your habits shape your identity and vice versa.
Okay.
That parenthetical and vice versa is the key. Right now, your identity is basically just a belief system you hold about yourself.
Right.
You believe you're a procrastinator, or you believe you're terrible at math.
Sure. My identity is the story I tell myself about myself.
Exactly. And how does a human being form any belief?
I don't know. Experience.
Through evidence. You believe you're a procrastinator because you have years of empirical evidence proving it to be true.
Oh, man. Late assignments, missed deadlines.
Exactly. So if you want to change who you are, you cannot just stand in a mirror and recite affirmations. You have to change the evidence.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that.
You aren't faking being a healthy person when you force yourself to eat celery or go for a 5-minute walk. Every single time you make that choice, you are casting a single undeniable vote for the type of person you wish to become.
Oh, wow.
Your habits are the literal physical evidence of your identity. You prove it to yourself in a court of law where you are both the judge and the defendant.
That's a great way to put it.
Because if you don't change the underlying belief, the who you are, the habits will inevitably snap back to match the old identity.
So the celery isn't a prop in a stage play. It's a ballot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are voting for your new identity, one microscopic action at a time. And if you cast enough votes, the election is called.
You become that person.
Right. Not through magic, but through an overwhelming preponderance of evidence.
Okay, I actually really love that. It moves it from this abstract affirmation thing into a courtroom where you just have to present the evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the rub. Knowing why you need to change your identity and knowing that you need these tiny gains to cast those votes, that's all well and good in theory.
Right. But execution is different.
Exactly. How do you actually mechanically execute it? Because wanting to cast a vote and actually getting off the couch to go to the polling station are wildly different things.
Which brings us directly to the core spine of this entire operation.
The famous 4 laws of behavior change.
Yes, this is where the structural blueprint of the video really takes shape. The description specifically promises to cover these laws with real-world examples.
Right, and looking at the way the video is segmented, the listener is guided through a very specific sequence.
Make it obvious.
Right, then make it attractive, make it easy, and finally make it satisfying. Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying.
It is a remarkably elegant sequence when you view it as a continuous loop.
Elegant, sure, but honestly, looking at these 4 pillars, it sounds like we're designing a user interface for a toddler.
A toddler UI.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're a software developer and you want a toddler to interact with an educational app on an iPad, what do?
You make it simple.
You make the button giant, brightly colored, and completely obvious on the screen. You make it shiny and attractive. It has to be incredibly easy to press with clumsy little fingers, no complex double tapping.
Yeah.
And it absolutely must dispense immediate, satisfying candy graphics the second they touch it, or their brains just won't click it again. We are basically doing that to ourselves. We are hacking our own primal toddler brains.
That is a brilliant analogy, actually, and perfectly accurate to the underlying neuroscience.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The 4 laws are entirely about hacking the human interface.
Yeah.
We often overestimate our own rationality.
We really do.
We think we are sophisticated decision makers, but at our core, we are driven by very ancient, simple biological triggers.
Okay.
Let's look closely at how the source material hints at the execution of this toddler UI, starting with the first step. Make it obvious.
There is a section dedicated to this that has a wonderfully cryptic, slightly unsettling title, The Man Who Didn't Look Right.
What's fascinating here is what that title implies about how our brains actually function.
Yeah, what does that mean?
It strongly suggests a story about intuition, about a professional, maybe a paramedic or a doctor, noticing a cue subconsciously before their rational brain caught up.
Like a gut feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They couldn't articulate why the man didn't look right, they just felt it. In the context of making a habit obvious, this points to the terrifying power of visual and environmental cues.
Meaning we aren't even aware of why we're doing most of the things we do.
Precisely. A massive percentage of our daily behavior is triggered before we are consciously aware of it.
Oh, wow.
You walk into the kitchen, you see a plate of cookies, you've eaten one before, your conscious brain has fully processed the decision to consume sugar.
Right. The cue was obvious, and the script ran automatically.
Yes. So if you want to build a good habit, you have to drag the trigger out of the dark subconscious and put it right in your face.
You have to make the cues for good habits wildly, unavoidably obvious.
And make the bad cues invisible.
Right. If you want to take vitamins, putting the bottle behind the cereal boxes is a guaranteed failure.
You put it directly on the coffee maker.
Exactly. So it intersects with a habit you already have. You're designing the environment so the toddler cannot miss the button.
Exactly.
Okay, so I've put my running shoes right in the middle of the hallway. They're incredibly obvious. I literally trip over them.
Okay.
But I still don't want to put them on. Making it obvious isn't enough to make me act.
Which perfectly sets up the next phase.
Right, make it attractive. The video outlines how to make a habit irresistible. And again, my sarcastic alarm bells are ringing here.
I can imagine.
Yes. Making a grueling run in the freezing rain irresistible. Good luck with that.
Sounds possible.
I can make a donut irresistible in 3 milliseconds. How do you make physical exhaustion attractive?
By fundamentally understanding that attractive in this neurological sense doesn't mean tastes good like a donut.
Okay.
It's about hacking dopamine anticipation. The video emphasizes simplifying scientific principles, and the science here is about reframing perception.
Dopamine anticipation. Wait, hold on. How does that even work? Isn't dopamine the thing we get after we do something good?
That is a very common misconception.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's vital to correct that. Dopamine is not simply a reward chemical. It is the chemical of desire and anticipation. Your brain actually releases more dopamine when you are anticipating a reward than when you actually receive it. It's the mechanism that got our ancestors out of the cave to hunt.
So the craving is stronger than the fulfillment.
Exactly. So the toddler UI needs to flash the promise of the candy before the button is pressed.
Okay, so linking an action you need to do with an action you want to do.
Right. You build up the anticipation so the brain craves the result enough to push through the friction.
Like only listening to my favorite podcast while I'm folding laundry?
Yes, Bundling habits.
Yeah.
You make the difficult habit the necessary gateway to the irresistible reward, flooding the brain with dopamine anticipation.
Okay, I see. You're basically bribing yourself.
Essentially, yes.
But let's talk about that friction you mentioned, because that leads us directly into the third pillar, making it easy.
This is a big one.
The video breaks this down into the law of least effort and a section called Walk Slowly but Never Backward.
This is perhaps the most pragmatic, biologically grounded part of the entire system. Humans are, by evolutionary nature, inherently lazy.
Oh, I believe it.
And I don't mean that as a moral judgment. It's a survival mechanism to conserve caloric energy.
Finally, a scientific framework that fully validates my weekend behavior on the couch. I'm not lazy, I'm just an evolutionary success story.
You joke, but it's true. The framework doesn't ask you to fight your laziness or feel guilty. It asks you to weaponize it.
Weaponize laziness. I love it.
The goal isn't to increase your willpower to push through friction. Willpower is a battery that drains. The goal is to aggressively grease the slide toward the good habits.
It's the law of least effort.
Yes,
Right.
ruthlessly removing every single unnecessary step between you and the desired behavior.
Give me an example of what that friction looks like in real life.
Think about going to the gym. If it requires you to come home exhausted, hunt for clean clothes, pack a bag, find your keys, drive 20 minutes in traffic, and fight for parking.
Just hearing that makes me tired.
Exactly. The friction is astronomically high. The evolutionary brain looks at that caloric expenditure and shuts the operation down.
Right.
Making it easy means reducing those steps to near zero, sleeping in your workout clothes, or picking a gym directly on your route home.
Toddler UI. Make the giant shiny button physically easy to press. If the toddler has to solve a math equation, they drop the iPad.
Perfectly said.
But here is where I feel like things start to get a bit tense. We reach the final pillar, make it satisfying, which the video calls the cardinal rule of behavior change.
Why does that introduce tension for you? That seems like the most pleasant part.
Because it's called the cardinal rule. In any structure, a cardinal rule is the linchpin. If it fails, the whole building comes down.
That's a good point.
If obvious, attractive, and easy are about getting the behavior to happen just once, then satisfying is the absolute only thing that guarantees it will happen again tomorrow.
Right.
If there's no reward, the toddler UI collapses, they press the button, nothing happens, they throw the iPad across the room, the system is dead.
You are absolutely right to spot that architectural tension. The video's outline implies the author knows this is the most dangerous failure point.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be.
We'll definitely return to that specific pressure point, the terrifying nature of delayed rewards later on.
I can't wait. But for now, let's take a massive step back. These 4 laws, they sound incredibly robust in a theoretical vacuum.
Like a perfect lab experiment.
Right, where we are the rats and we control the maze. But you and I, and the listener out there trying to balance a job and a family, we don't live in a vacuum.
No, we live in the real world.
The messy, chaotic, relentlessly distraction-filled real world. Which brings us to a sequence in the video that seems dedicated to violently dismantling our common excuses.
You're talking about the shift from internal mechanics to external realities.
Yes. The topics flow like a sniper attack on human weakness. We hit motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more, followed by the secret to self-control.
Right.
And tucked away in there is how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. I want to zero in on that last one because it sounds ridiculous.
The 2-minute rule. It's often one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire framework.
I can see why. What can you possibly accomplish in 2 minutes that will structurally change your life?
It sounds like a gimmick.
That is barely enough time to load my email inbox. If I'm trying to start a side hustle, what is 2 minutes going to do? Is this just a listicle gimmick?
If we connect this back to the third pillar, make it easy, the 2-minute rule is actually a stroke of psychological genius.
Really?
It isn't a gimmick. It's a gateway drug for habit formation.
A gateway to what exactly?
To the initiation of the habit itself. The misunderstanding is that the 2-minute rule is about finishing a task.
It's not.
No, it is 100% about starting it. Let's use your side hustle example.
Okay.
The greatest barrier isn't a lack of desire. It's the crushing emotional weight of the entire project. The brain says, we have to build a website, draft a business plan, and code for 3 hours.
Right, the mountain is too big.
Exactly. The brain sees that caloric energy cost and chooses Netflix.
The friction is too high, so the system shuts down.
Precisely. But if your rule is, I am only going to open my laptop and write one single sentence, and then I can stop, the mountain becomes a pebble. the friction drops to near zero. It's the art of showing up. Once you start, physical and mental momentum takes over.
Because it's easier to keep going once the laptop is open.
Exactly. But you cannot optimize a habit that hasn't been established. The 2-minute rule forces you to establish the habit of showing up.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see the matrix now. You scale it down until it is so laughably easy that you cannot physically justify saying no. I'm not writing a novel today, I'm just opening a Word document. And if I close it after 2 minutes, I still succeeded. I still cast the vote.
You cast the vote for that identity, the toddler pressed the button.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But the breakdown doesn't stop with internal procrastination. It pivots to attack the external world brutally.
Oh, right, the section on motivation?
Yes, motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more.
I just love the sheer unapologetic bluntness of that. Take that, every hyper-energetic motivational speaker screaming at me on TikTok.
It is a brutal truth that shatters illusions. Motivation is a finite, fleeting, highly unreliable emotional state.
It really is.
It spikes when you watch a movie and vanishes when you're hungry or stressed. You absolutely cannot build a lifelong system on an emotion that fluctuates with your blood sugar.
No, of course not.
The Mind book description explicitly highlights how to redesign your environment for a reason. Relying on raw self-control is a fool's errand.
Wait, hold on. So the secret to self-control is not using self-control.
Precisely. The people with the best self-control typically need to use it the least.
Wait, really?
Yes, it is about curating your physical and digital space so intensely that good habits are the path of least resistance.
Oh, I see.
You don't try to resist the cookies in the pantry through willpower every time you walk into the kitchen.
Yeah.
You redesign the system so the cookies are simply not in the house.
That makes total sense. If my acoustic guitar is on a stand in the middle of the living room, I'm going to play it.
Exactly.
If it's shoved in the back of a closet behind the vacuum cleaner, it basically doesn't exist to my brain.
Right.
Okay, so I can redesign my living room, I can hide the cookies, delete apps off my phone, but redesigning an empty room is one thing.
Right.
What about the other living, breathing people in that room? Because external pressures go beyond furniture. They involve our peers, families, and even our biology.
This is where the framework fundamentally expands from the micro to the macro.
Yeah.
And the variables become significantly harder to control.
Let's look at this next block. We're moving into deep waters here. The video carves out sections for the role of family and friends, how an accountability partner can change everything.
And the ones on talent.
Yes, the truth about talent and the Goldilocks rule.
There is a heavy, noticeable shift in gravity here. We are stepping away from UI tricks and into the profound forces governing the human condition. Tribe, genetics, biological limits.
I have to say, looking at some of these, I actually feel a wave of relief.
Relief.
Yeah, like, great, if I fail, I can just blame my friends for being bad influences and blame my genetics for not giving me the willpower of a monk.
Yeah.
The section on talent is basically my get-out-of-jail-free card. Sorry, guys, didn't write the novel, just don't have the genes for it. My system was flawless, my DNA let me down.
I have to shut that sarcasm down right here, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
The framework absolutely does not allow for that escape hatch. This is where the system demands unflinching honesty. The discussion on talent is not an excuse to quit.
It's not.
No, it's a necessary reality check to calibrate your expectations.
A reality check out.
It confronts the uncomfortable truth that, yes, genes matter. Talent is a biological reality.
Right.
We don't all start on an equal playing field. If you're 5'2", you aren't going to be an NBA center, no matter how perfect your habits are.
Fair enough.
But the crucial distinction is when genes matter and when they don't. Genes dictate your starting line. They do not dictate your finish line.
Okay, but let me push back on that heavily.
Go ahead.
How do you logically reconcile biological limits with the whole power of tiny gains premise?
Okay.
If someone has naturally better genes, won't their tiny gains always mathematically outpace yours? If we both improve by 1% a day, but they started 50 miles ahead of me, they are light years ahead by year 5. Doesn't that just breed massive resentment?
That is a highly astute observation, and it's the exact trap that destroys most people's systems.
Right.
Which leads directly into the synthesis provided by the next concept.
Yeah.
The Goldilocks rule. You cannot control your genetic starting line. Therefore, comparing your trajectory to someone else's is structurally flawed and deeply destructive.
So what's the Goldilocks rule?
It is about finding the precise zone of difficulty perfectly matched to your current abilities, regardless of anyone else.
Not too hard, not too easy, just right, like the porridge.
Exactly. The human brain experiences peak motivation when working on tasks right on the edge of its current abilities.
So if it's too easy.
You succumb to boredom and stop. If it is too difficult, like trying to compete with someone miles ahead of you, you succumb to despair and you stop.
Oh, wow.
Mastery requires you to constantly, vigilantly calibrate your habits so you operate in that narrow, uncomfortable, highly productive middle ground.
So you have to constantly self-assess. You can't just set the system and walk away.
No, not at all.
You have to monitor your own boredom and frustration daily to stay perfectly balanced.
Yes. And because doing that rigorous self-assessment in isolation is nearly impossible for the ego, the framework introduces the accountability partner.
Because we're tribal creatures, we need the pack.
We're deeply tribal. If your tribe normalizes a behavior, executing it becomes almost effortless. If they punish it, it becomes agonizing.
Right.
An accountability partner artificially introduces immediate social pressure to keep you inside that Goldilocks zone. It brings immediate localized pain to a failure that might otherwise only have invisible delayed consequences.
Okay. I'm starting to feel a real shift here in my own understanding.
How so?
We started off talking about shiny buttons for toddlers, hiding cookies, finding 2 minutes to read a page. It sounded quaint and manageable.
Right.
But looking at this whole blueprint now, constantly redesigning your environment, agonizing over your genetic starting line, actively managing social pressures, perpetually calibrating your zone of difficulty every single day.
It's a lot.
It requires an immense, almost suffocating amount of hypervigilance.
It does. It requires a radical, unblinking awareness of every facet of your life.
The humor is kind of entirely fading for me right now because I'm looking at this architecture and I'm realizing the trap.
The trap.
Yeah. Okay, so you've done it. You've built the flawless toddler UI. You've hacked your environment, alienated lazy friends, got an accountability partner, dialed into the Goldilocks zone.
Now what? Now what?
Yeah, you can do this forever? Is there a finish line where you get to rest?
There is no finish line.
None.
None whatsoever. And that stark realization brings us to the final, undoubtedly most profound section of this entire deep dive.
And
The crushing weight of consistency and the relentless massage of time on the human psyche.
the structural outline hits these final concepts like a drumbeat: how to keep your habits on track, the truth about immediate versus delayed rewards, how to stick with good habits every day.
It's heavy.
And finally, that concluding thematic analysis: identity, systems, and the power of small things.
Let's slow down here. I really want you and the listener to absorb the gravity of what these final chapters are addressing.
Okay.
Think back to the very premise of MindBooks, the channel that created this specific video. They explicitly offer a calm, mindful tone for reflection.
So, what does this all mean? Why the deep need for a soothing tone to talk about productivity?
Because what this framework is ultimately asking you to confront is, frankly, terrifying.
Yeah.
It requires soothing.
Terrifying how?
The calm tone isn't just for relaxation. It's an aesthetic anesthesia to soothe the existential dread that arises when you fully comprehend the section titled, How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day.
Every single day.
Let that sink in. Every single day.
It's the relentless nature of it, the unending loop.
It is the brutal mechanics of immediate versus delayed rewards. This is the core tension of human existence. It's a tragic flaw in our evolutionary hardware.
Because the bad stuff feels good.
The things that destroy us, junk food, doom scrolling for hours, lashing out in anger, they feel incredibly satisfying immediately.
The fourth law: the candy is delivered the second the button is pushed.
Yes. They hijack the toddler UI perfectly, but the things that build us, reading, saving money, grueling exercise, patience, they feel like nothing at all in the moment.
They're completely invisible.
Invisible until years later.
It's like you're dropping pennies into a bottomless well day after day, and you don't even hear a splash.
That's a perfect image.
You just blindly trust the well is filling up in the dark. But meanwhile, your brain is screaming at you to buy a candy bar right now because you can taste the sugar instantly. The cognitive dissonance is exhausting.
Exactly. And that is why systems are the absolute only defense we have against our own hardware.
Because goals aren't enough.
You do not rise to the level of your goals because goals exist purely in the imagined future. Your primitive brain only cares about the physical present.
Right.
You fall to the level of your systems because systems dictate your physical actions today. The system is the life.
Wow.
There is no magical future state where the friction disappears. You are simply managing the machinery, casting the votes, day in and day out, in perpetuity.
That completely fundamentally changes how I view the title of the original book, Atomic Habits.
How so?
When I first read that, I just thought, oh, atomic meaning small. Tiny, cute little habits, like an atom.
But atomic has a dual meaning, doesn't it?
It really does. It means microscopic, invisible to the naked eye. But it also means fundamental, the irreducible building block of matter.
Yes.
And more terrifyingly, it implies an absolutely catastrophic explosive energy when harnessed over time. It's not just small, it is terrifyingly powerful.
That is the perfect synthesis of this entire framework. The final thematic analysis the video offers functions as a warning as much as a guide.
A warning.
Your microscopic daily habits are quietly, relentlessly building your future self, or they are actively, silently dismantling it. Right now, in this very second, as you sit and listen to this audio.
It's a remarkably heavy realization.
The compounding effect of time is massaging those tiny actions into massive, unstoppable, explosive consequences.
We spend so much of our lives obsessing over massive cinematic moments. Big promotions, sudden epiphanies.
Right.
But this blueprint, derived from a faceless YouTube video with 500,000 views, argues those big moments are mostly an illusion. They are just the delayed, highly visible explosions of the invisible atomic systems running in the background for years.
Which brings us full circle, back to the beginning. The desperation we all feel for that magic pill.
Yeah.
The reason we seek out these videos, searching for a shortcut, is because we intuitively know our systems are failing us.
But confronting the unending work to fix them is daunting.
Exactly. It's much easier to write a sweeping goal for the new year than to fix a broken habit on a rainy Tuesday morning.
So I want to talk directly to you for a moment, you, the listener who tuned in hoping to learn how to be a little more productive today.
Right.
We started this off with some heavy sarcasm about the industry, but looking at the unyielding architecture of this framework, the joke really is on us.
It truly is.
We've stripped away the fluff, broken down the toddler UI, and what we're left with is that chilling quote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems."
If we truly internalize everything we've unpacked today, from the trauma of the opening story to the brutal truth of delayed rewards, it leaves us with a very heavy, tense, final thought to end on.
Hit us with it. Let's leave them with the reality of it.
Look at your life right now. Not your hopes, not your 5-year plan, not the goals in your leather journal.
Okay.
Look at the literal physical actions you took today. Look at what you did the last 24 hours.
Just the actions.
Yes, because according to the relentless mechanics we've just laid out, those microscopic actions are a flawless mirror of your deeply held identity. They're the only votes that count.
Oh, man.
If a complete stranger were to look solely at your daily habits from the time you woke up yesterday to this exact second, who would they say you are?
Wow.
Because whatever your honest answer to that question is, whatever identity that stranger would deduce from your systems, that is exactly who you are becoming. There's no escaping it. The small things aren't just small things, they are everything.